Hello and welcome, everyone. I hope everyone is doing really well out there. We're here seeing CitizenCon video. So basically, the cargo refactor stuff. I'm kind of guessing it's the tier 0 stuff or the first implementation of it. So we'll have to see what they're going to be talking about. And I hope everyone enjoys. Stay tuned for more content and new ships coming. And as well, we've got the IAE November 18th. So stay tuned for that. We'll be posting content and watching the live streams for those and being in game with live content for you all. And I hope that everyone enjoys this CitizenCon video or videos. And stay tuned. And also make sure to subscribe and like the video so you can stay updated whenever we post new content on the daily and the weekly. So stay tuned for that, and thank you very much for all the support, and let's do this.
318, the future is bright for cargo.
We're moving away from the simplistic implementation that we had before into something that's more of a real simulation.
With the new physicalized cargo, it opens doors for us to give some new gameplay. Cargo today is pretty basic. You go to a kiosk, you use an interface, you load your ship, it automatically loads. Get in that ship, you drive that ship to a port, and then you sell what you bought, but there's not a lot of interesting choices there.
With the current implementation, whenever we designed it, we did not have the tractor beams that we have now. What that meant is that you were not able to pick up and manipulate the larger 1SU boxes. At the time, all that you could do was pick up the smaller 1/8 SU boxes, but this gave us a problem for piracy and looting in general, in that the really valuable things are sold and bought in these 1SU boxes and higher volumes, but the only thing the player can actually pick up are the smaller ones. So what we had to do is a kind of hack in the cargo system such that when a vehicle explodes, instead of generating the larger 1SU boxes on destruction, it actually generates the smaller ones in this kind of gamey, magical way, so that the player can actually go pick up some of the boxes from the destruction.
All right, let me give you an example. The C2 has 696 SCU, which equates to 5,568 1/8 SCU boxes that you have to loot. But the ship exploding should damage some of those boxes, and we want to have about 40 to 50% survive that explosion, so that's still about 2,000 1/8 SCU boxes.
But then there's server performance issues to consider. So what we've actually been doing is capping that at 10% boxes being generated. However, on top of that, it's an incredibly tedious experience, because now that's, if you were to do the math, about 400 boxes that you have to go pick up, and collecting all of those by hand without a tractor beam.
With the new system, we've gotten rid of the 1/8 SCU cargo containers. Everything is 1 SCU cargo containers. So in the case of the C2 with the 696 SCU, that would be 696 1 SCU boxes rather than 5,000 plus.
Every single one of those boxes is a real entity in the game, like any other entity in the game. It is tracked in the database as a
That's crazy. That is a lot of boxes. That is crazy.
persistent entity, now that we have the new persistent entity streaming architecture. And it means that now that there are entities that are persistent, they can be interactable. So now you can do things like use the tractor beams to pull them out of the cargo hold or put them into a cargo hold. It also means that whenever we do ship destruction with the new system, we don't have to generate anything. Instead, all that we do is we take the entities that were already created and we just simply detach them from the cargo hold and let them float in space. Now, we still want to have some of that explosive destruction, so there's a certain amount of variable amount of that cargo that is destroyed on ship destruction.
Actually giving you back somewhere, it's actually 0 to 90%. but that's calculated every time your ship explodes. So what happens then is now we're actually hitting that 40 to 50% number on average.
This means that both for players that want to reclaim the cargo that they lost on ship destruction, or for pirates that want to scoop up their ill-gotten gains, then they'll have an easier time to get at it, and there'll be more value there when they try to do so.
There is also the new commodity kiosk flow, which is a step in the right direction for helping you understand what you're buying and what you're selling and what's available at the places where you buy and sell commodities. It's the new UI, it's the new building block UI, so it should be a lot easier to understand and gives you a graphical representation as you're buying and selling of how much space that you have on the ship that you're buying and selling into. 318 is not the end of the cargo refactor. There's lots of stuff that we're in the design process for right now, including manual loading and unloading, as well as automatic loading and unloading. We're also looking at some big box cargo missions that separate the cargo from the hauling professions. So that's something to look forward to. We have a lot more content coming that use these new features. We hope you enjoy it in 318.
And as a coda to all of that, Chris Roberts actually came by my desk the other day, and we talked a bit how it was unfortunate that we even have to allow players to lose 40 to 50% of the cargo. And we talked and decided that we would try to come up with an interim solution on our path to physicalized damage that would allow us to leave the husks of ships behind on vehicle destruction instead of just exploding them and erasing all the contents. This would allow players to explore the ships and find the cargo and physically move it off the husks of the ships, rather than just generating a percentage of the boxes on destruction.
Like every other aspect of Star Citizen's continuing development, the cargo refactor isn't a one drop and it's done kind of feature. And the first implementation, much like persistent entity streaming alongside it in the upcoming Alpha 318, is about rebuilding existing functionality within an entirely new foundation that will now set the stage for the persistent universe to reach its fullest potential in subsequent patches to come. And while we're here talking about new technologies designed to be built upon from one patch to the next, let's chat us up some Rastar, the internal tool that we've been developing now that's currently in use, placing outposts throughout both the Stanton and Pyro systems.
The whole purpose of Rastar is to make the thing easier for the devs to place location at the surface of a planet. And in the end, it will be used as the system for players to build their bases. We have Rastar because the previous system, based on prefab, was quite hard to use and not up to scale for the scale and the scope we want for our planet density. Any changes to the planetary generation, like for example, you just change a canyon, you add a canyon to the planet, you'll have to redrop every modules at the surface of a planet to be sure they are well aligned with the new terrain and the new modifications of the terrain. Rastar makes that better by allowing, first of all, the ability to directly follow the modification of terrain topology, so we don't have to refresh anything. Plus, it gives us more granularity and modularity of the locations. Backers should be caring about Rastar and all these improvements, because that's the way we will be able to give you, the players, the most dense area we can imagine to keep in line and have all the planets, all the moons filled with POI and things to do on the surface, and maybe later in orbit of these planets and moons. CitizenCon 2951. It changed not much in terms of visual, mostly UI rework, but features are all there. Just a lot of internal work to allow the new build location to fit more and be more productive. So now we can have modules and elements that are nested and indented, so we better understand what depends on what. And we also added the ability to collapse parts of the tool, so to have a better understanding and more focused work on some parts of the tool. We also worked on better tools integration, so now we are able to use the base tools of the editor, such as gizmos or roller bar, to modify some elements of raster, which was not possible previously due to some breaking while doing so, and to keep consistency with the raster flow. But with that changes now, most of the in-edited tools are usable with raster without any risk. We also moved the object containers used for raster to streaming object containers to keep in line with the whole streaming process of the network system. So now we gave the ability for the server to load and spawn and despawn some locations and elements.
So a plug-and-play tool that allows you to create bases out of nowhere. It should be called the God tool. It's so freaking quick and epic. It's epic. But yeah, I love it.
At will to avoid crowding the whole server memory. And we also now converted the whole connector system that was presented during the last CitizenCon to item ports. So now, again, to keep in line with the in-house way we do things and to better integrate some elements such as the resource network that will later be available on the locations. I'm quite happy with the result of raster. There is quite some work to do on it, but the result is promising, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna love the location we will roll out with raster.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the cargo refactor will physicalize the manner in which we transport goods in such a way that makes retrieval after disaster, or collection after piracy, easier and more rewarding than ever before. That it's the new foundation for an entirely new trade experience that will continue to develop over subsequent patches. That it may yet have some fortunate side effects on vehicle destruction, ship husks, and salvage in the not too distant future. And that the Rastar tool, first introduced at last year's CitizenCon, is already being used to populate the planets of Pyro in next year's 4.0 and Stanton in this December's upcoming Alpha 318. Now don't forget that this year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo is right around the corner. You can go to the robertspaceindustrials.com website to find out all the details. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week.
So basically, the Rastar tool is allowing them to create moon. Well, they can make a moon, and then they could add like a bunch of stuff to the moon, a bunch of bases, and make the moon livable. And then the same thing with, you know, like Live and Awake, and it feels more original instead of generic. And then the same thing with planets. It's going to make it very easy to make moons and planets with these tools, and that's what I love about Star Citizen. It's like drag and drop content. It's really amazing technology and tool systems. So on to the next video. No, that's a beautiful, beautiful sight. Oh my goodness. I like that javelin. I like the javelin. I just wish that they would make a smaller version of the javelin. Just a little bit smaller, like at least half the size, and sell it. I love the Polaris, but I feel like having a little bit something a little bit more of a kick, so then when the Vendul do come, you know, like yeah, you're gonna need a fleet to fight the Vandal. I can't be like dreaming or anything, but you need a proper team, a proper squad of ships. But it would be nice to have a smaller version of the Javelin that can definitely defeat a lot of the bigger ships. Um, I just I just want one. But obviously, a javelin is like it's huge. You're gonna need a lot of people, and well, it takes a lot to maintain. So I just want something a little smaller, or medium size of the javelin. So it's half the size, like I said, but the same firepower or similar firepower. So yeah, that'd be great. Let's do it, CIG. Let's do it. Very beautiful stuff, though. I can't wait to be in that world where the AI actually work like that, or even better. Obviously, it's gonna be. But the style, the artwork, the stations, it's remarkable how advanced looking it looks and really thought out. Um, I love it. And we're about to get a patch 318, so I'm very happy about that. And they're working on DirectX 12 and bulking API engine, so that means people are going to be able to pretty much have the ability to play Star Citizen Squadron 42 at very high FPS, or higher FPS than what we've got once most of it is released. So let's do this. The next video, I think it's Ship Talk.
Millions find a low-cost health plan at healthcare.
This was at CitizenCon. There is one other ship. I don't know much about it, but it's called the RSI Galaxy or something like that. And stay tuned for that. I'll make a video on that soon once I get more information. So make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And it's 100% free, so it's not going to hurt anything. And comment below and let me know what ships you like and what do you like to do in Star Citizen. Trading, mining, salvaging, piracy. What do you all like? Let me know down below in the comments. And what are you looking forward to? What patch are you looking forward to? Comment below also, let me know. But yeah, just give it a like, the video, so then YouTube knows what we want. We want more content, you know, and bigger and better community. So thank you for watching, and let's do this.
everyone. My name is John Crew. I'm the Vehicle Director here at Cloud Imperium Games. This year I'm once again joined by Ben Curtis, Vehicle Art Director, and Paul Jones, Concept Art Director, and this is our yearly Ship Talk panel. Like previous years, we'll be talking about something coming soon, something being announced today, something coming a bit later, and then the fan favourite, the Pick a Ship or Vehicle concept series. To kick things off this year, we're going to be talking about our new concept ship, which is the Crusader Spirit. This is a series of ships from Crusader Industries that is designed to take on a variety of other manufacturers' ships at the two-person crew level and does a wide variety of tasks depending on which variant you pick. The two standout competitors to this ship are naturally the Cutlass and obviously the Cutlass Blue, Red, Steel, and the Freelancer series. Those are all similar sized ships to this, and they also cover similar sort of roles. Compared to the Cutlass and Freelancer series, the Spirit benefits from not only Crusader Industries' sort of stylish physical appearance, but also their renowned speed and agility over those other variants. We have three variants of the Crusader Spirit. We have the C1, which is the cargo hauler version. We have the A1, which is the light to sort of medium bomber version. And then we have the E1, which is the executive VIP transport version.
One of the really nice features of the Spirit series as a whole is the front half of the ship is kind of like this shared area, and it's the rear section that swaps out.
So the C1 is the cargo hauler version. This comes with 48 SCU of cargo capacity in the central area, accessible like the other versions via the rear ramp. It's wide enough to allow a variety of ground-based vehicles on board, such as the Cyclone. You won't be fitting larger things in it like the tank. However, with the size of the cargo bay on the C1, you can put a vehicle and still have some cargo capacity left over. The A1 is the bomber version of the Spirit, which sort of splits the difference between the Hercules A2's bomber version, which has both size 10 and size 3 bomb options. This comes with size 5 bombs, and they are arranged in two vertical gravity dropped formations down each side of the central area. So you have a nice little walkway down the middle, and then you have the two sort of lines of bombs each side of you, and you'll be able to see them drop out of the bottom of the ship.
It delivers a different role to what the Starlifter does in terms of the bomber. I think it's a much kind of smaller, faster ship, so it's much more agile. You're going to be kind of getting in and out and you know, doing your bombing run and then getting back out of the danger zone quite quickly. So it feels quite familiar in that sense, but it does deliver a unique kind of play style compared to the Starlifter.
So you might be asking yourself which one's better, and it really depends on what you want to wipe off the face of the planet that you're bombing. Obviously the A2 has both heavy hitters and what could be described as carpet bombing, whereas this is sort of for when you don't want to completely annihilate everything on the ground. And lastly, we have the E1 variant, which solely exists to give Jared heartburn over his Starliner. So this is a sort of taste of what the Starliner will get in the future, but on a much smaller scale.
VIP1 is a really interesting module. It's basically split into two levels. And so, you know, we really wanted to sort of have that VIP experience. Obviously, you're coming into a sort of multi-role ship, but when you get into the module, you've got lockers, space to put any sort of personal belongings. If essentially you're going to two elevators, left or right, and take you up to the top deck. So it has that sort of first-class feeling.
I think what really makes the E1 stand out compared to some of our other ships is the kind of the large panoramic glass roof. So when you're in this kind of shared VIP area, you're gonna have great views and be able to kind of like explore the verse in something that I think is gonna be quite unique.
And we also have the Mixmaster, which is at the front of the module, which is basically where players can go and choose whatever the drink it is. So it's, you know, cocktails or coffee. And then players will also have super comfy seats. They'll have the widescreen TV in their module.
I'm really excited to see when we start getting our players and our AIs into these ships and being able to kind of explore the verse and you know, experience that kind of luxury living that, well, I've not yet to experience.
So between the three variants, there are a number of shared areas. The sort of core of the ship changes with each variant, but there are some aspects which don't need to change. And starting from the front of the ship, you naturally have the cockpit or the bridge. So like other Crusader ships, you have the side-by-side pilot to co-pilot arrangement. Then you have behind them their living quarters / bunk area and component access. And then you have the variant section which does change the sort of internal floor plan of the ships between them. Then at the rear of the ship you naturally have the ramp access area. So that's the Crusader Spirit. We hope you look forward to seeing this and seeing what it can do in the game in the future. From something at the very start of our vehicle production pipeline to something nearing the end of the pipeline, let's talk about the Drake Corsair next. The Drake Corsair is an important ship in their lineup because it fills that multi-crew exploration gap in their lineup. We've seen a lot of Drake ships of various usage and roles, such as the Buccaneer and Cutlass. In this size class, you naturally have the Constellation, the 600i as the competitors, and what Drake brings is its usual rugged, overwhelming amount of firepower for its size sort of classification to that entry.
It's Drake's dedicated exploration ship. It's a kind of a medium, you know, deep space vessel effectively. It's got a crew for up to 4, or space for up to 4 crew. It's got a sizable cargo hold, and it's kind of got everything that you need to really spend a decent amount of time away from civilization, away from stations, and just kind of being able to chart out those deep areas of space. It brings that sort of no nonsense, no frills approach to the ship, and you know if something's going to go wrong, it's going to be something that you more than likely can fix, and it's not going to be something that you have to cut back to a main dealer to get serviced and fixed. It's something that hopefully you and your crew will be able to kind of repair and get back on running, or just fix with some duct tape.
So fans, when they see the ship, will immediately see the sort of heritage, the DNA that's running through the Spirit. So you can kind of almost imagine how the ship is built. It's got that military, easy fix kind of feel. It's loaded with guns, loaded with turrets. It has some really interesting mechanisms inside it, so I think players will really dig that.
I think what's quite unique to the Corsair is its wings, the way they fold up. This isn't done purely for style. Being Drake, it's more there for function. It allows you to get in and out of the hangars much easier. We put quite a lot of effort into keeping that really iconic exterior kind of silhouette and vision that we set, but still making it functional and making sure it works. At the moment, we're just kind of finishing up on final art. Most of the exterior has had, the majority of its core art time spent on it. We've still got lighting to do. We've still got kind of like final finishing to do, tweak some of the materials till we're kind of properly happy. But it's in a good place, so I'm really, really excited to be able to show you.
So let's take a look inside the ship, and once again, we'll go front to back.
On the inside of the ship, we start right at the front on the cockpit. The Corsair has quite a unique feel to its cockpit in that the pilot is kind of sat right up front, and then in kind of classic kind of Drake stylings, the co-pilot gets in the seat behind them and actually sinks down into the floor. That transition from the main cockpit area into that kind of co-pilot kind of section, you move right forward and you're sat pretty much underneath where the pilot is. It gives great visibility for both the pilot and the co-pilot. The other nice thing about this cockpit is, again, you've got these massive guns that stuck out either side of you, so it should be a nice place to be. In the rear of the cockpit, we've got the captain's quarters. So the captain's quarters is actually pretty much identical to the rest of the quarters in the ship in terms of its kind of size and its amenities. As you move back through the ship, there's a small kind of crossroads directly behind the bridge. From here, you can either progress backwards straight into habitation, or to either side, you've got the turret access. So it's right really at the kind of like the neck of the ship, effectively.
The side turrets have changed a little since the concept phase. They now have a greater range of motion in sort of the yaw axis. We're quite limited at concept stage to about 45 degrees. each way. You're now looking at 90 degrees pretty much each way, so it's a lot more effective, especially forward firing, which again, the Corsair has so many guns pointing forwards. Having an extra 2 turrets is very, very Drake.
In habitation, we've got, you've got the remaining 3 crew quarters that, being Drake, they are no frills. You've got a bed, you've got somewhere to store your gear, and that's pretty much it. The main habitation area though is, if anything, quite luxurious for a Drake ship, in that there's a decent sized space. You've got your bathroom, which is no frills. It's got a shower, it's got a toilet, whatever. You've got the kind of chow line for all your food and everything you need to survive. And then right in the heart of the habitation area, there's a large kind of sizable seating area, and that's not just for the crew to have their meals. It's for somewhere that you can plan operations, plan your next move, and really decide where you're taking your adventure. As we move back from habitation, we start to get into like the rear half of the ship. I think if the habitation area is like the heart of the crew in the ship, then the engineering area is the real heart of the ship itself.
It's sort of this octagonal, hexagonal space with a few little rooms coming off it to cram components in. And off one of those you have the side airlock, which again has suit lockers and weapon lockers in there for before you go into EVA or docking or coming back out of, before you enter the rest of the ship.
And then you've also got the lift, and the lift not only goes down to ground level, but it also takes you up to the roof of the ship. So if you do want to go on a quick spacewalk, or you need to go and repair something on the exterior, then you've got kind of easy access straight up the lift and out you go.
Then finally at the rear you have the main cargo hold, which has space for an Ursa rover or similar sized vehicles and down, along with a significant cargo capacity.
And being a Drake ship, there's a huge ramp on the back of it. All the mechanics are exposed. You can really see the workings of how the ship actually operates. If you're a fan of Drake, it certainly ticks all those boxes.
So I think the Corsair is a particularly cool ship. I love the styling of it, love the asymmetric wing arrangement of it. I think it's just going to be a great fun addition to the game, giving those sort of players who enjoy that Drake experience their slice of the pie. And you'll be able to experience that yourselves at IAE this year. And a vehicle coming later today, a vehicle that's at the end of the pipeline, we have the Greycat STV.
I love the Crosshair inside of the Crosshair. I don't know yet if I like the outside, but the inside, I love all of that. It looks very cool and unique in the inside. Now the Steve, this is the new ground vehicle off-road. So let's see what this is about. Hope everyone is stay tuned for this. Also make sure to help out the channel by just giving it a subscribe, clicking that subscribe button. It's 100% free. Also, make sure you like the video so then YouTube knows and the algorithm that we are fighting hard and giving out new content on the daily and the weekly. So let's do that, please. And also, make sure to comment below and let me know what ships you like in the verse or in Star Citizen, and what other ships would you like to see. Just comment below. I would like to really know. So let me know. Thank you for watching, and let's do this.
Racing is a cool and fun aspect of Star Citizen, and it's something that we've seen that backers really enjoy doing and organising amongst themselves, and something that we really want to help support from within CIG. So we wanted to bring a new vehicle to the verse, which is where the STV came from.
So the STV is the Greycat sports terrain vehicle. It builds on what they learned from the PTV, but it brings it out of the hangars, off of the tarmac, and onto much more rugged terrain.
It's a four-wheeler, two-person open-topped, sport styling, everything you need to razz around on the planet. So the STV is actually part of a wider family of vehicles. You may recognise a resemblance in the name to the Greycat PTV, which is also part of that family. And we also have a third vehicle lined up that we want to do in the future called the UTV, which is the utility terrain vehicle. And we've actually reconcepted the PTV, and we have the concept for the UTV. And when you see all three side by side, you'll see that family resemblance.
The interior again is similar, design language, simple layout, easy to clean. That was a big thing for us, even though we don't have like a cleaning mechanic. All this sort of builds into the sort of visuals of the vehicle. So, you know, the floors have got drill holes in them, so it can easily let water through. The seats are easily removable, so you can actually see the bolts where you can just quickly whip them out. And so all of this thinking goes into those kind of vehicles. The wheels are a big feature, large sort of rubber mud guards. You know, just there's lots of subtleties in terms of the roll cage, you know, the sort of cross section of all these things. Maybe, you know, people wouldn't notice, but for us, you know, these are all part of making a manufacturer consistent.
So the STV delivers that gameplay that is, you know, you and a buddy out exploring over our planets. We've got, you know, these vast ships that you can explore deep space and you know, go off with your big multi-crews. But what this really allows you to do is get down on you know, one of our many planets and go exploring on the ground. It's not just a vehicle for you and a friend. It's also got kind of some cargo space in the back. So if you are out there doing missions, rather than having to fly your ships directly to where the mission is, it allows you to land, you know, slightly out there, slightly in a safer area. You've still got space to load up with weapons, load up with your whatever mission items you need, and get in and out nice and quick.
Compared to the Cyclone RC, which is a sort of racing variant of a non-racing vehicle, the STV was built from the ground up to be a good racing vehicle. It has a good chassis, it has better handling, it has better top speed, and that's what makes it a compelling racing choice.
The best things about Star Citizen as a whole is it kind of brings a lot of gameplay, and it's, you know, it's not all about combat. It's not all about you know, flying these massive ships. And I think one of the things that a lot of us are excited internally about is racing within our game. A lot of us come from a racing background in terms of the games we've developed before. A lot of us are, you know, petrol heads at heart. So I think being able to build on that kind of gameplay in Star Citizen is super exciting for us.
And if you stick around to the end of the broadcast, you'll get your first chance at seeing the STV in action in a race organised by Atmo Esports, creators of the Daymar Rally, where you'll see it taking on the terrain for the first time. You'll be able to pick one of these vehicles up today at the end of the broadcast. And finally, the most important aspect of these inaugural shows, the Pick a Ship concept challenge thing. For those of you that have seen previous years, you will have seen that we've thrown up some silhouettes of potential ship and vehicle options and asked for your feedback on which one we should actually make. And the wise among you have probably realised that we end up making pretty much all of them anyway. So instead of just doing that again and pretending that we're not going to do that, we thought we'd do something slightly different this year and just have a single ship option. And the choice is actually the manufacturer and the styling of that ship. So we want to do a nice large civilian mining ship that bridges the gap between the Argo Mole and the RSI Orion, because if you know those two ships, there is quite a gulf of space in between them. We wanted to fill that gap with an intermediary stepping stone before you jump into the big RSI Orion, which the scale of its mining is nothing like any other mining ship in the game. The Mole is the current mining system, just lots of it. So with this larger ship, we want to increase that and also provide onboard space for our ground mining vehicles such as the Rock and the Rock DS, which allows you the flexibility of taking on any mining situation that you can come across. So with that, we have three choices, which are basically the manufacturers. We have RSI as the first choice. So obviously RSI do the Orion, so this would be a smaller vehicle in that family. We have Argo, again, we have the Mole, so naturally it could be a larger step up from that. And then we have MISC, the third option. Obviously MISC do the Prospector, so again, keeping it all within the same family. As you can see from these images, they each have their sort of own unique styling take on that pitch that I've just given you. At the end of this Ship Talk panel, Jared will come on and explain how you get to vote on these three options. And that's the end of Talking Ship, so over to you, Jared.
For too long, spicy fast food has...
Join us for the biggest Whitley's Guide IAE special yet. with exclusive looks at all your favorite manufacturers. Freak CEO and an Arden. Plus, surprises and announcements you won't want to miss. We'll see you there.
All right, everyone. I hope everyone has had a good live stream. Stay tuned for more. Make sure you subscribe so you can be notified whenever we post and put out new content. And make sure to like the video, and we'll see you in the verse. Until next time, thank you for watching.